Hello, my astrology family. This is Lada from astrolada.com. This is the most important and exciting month of the year, not just personally, but for the world, because the two planets, the two probably most intense planets, Saturn and Pluto, are changing signs in March. So there will be big world important events that you'll notice around March, maybe a little bit before, a little bit after. But on a personal level, this will be a game changer, many new beginnings in your life. Old problems will disappear and new exciting territories and problems will appear. Let's see what it's going to be like. I'll speak about each of the 12 signs. You'll come back to this video for many years, at least for the next 3 years, because I'll speak about how Saturn will influence you for the next 3 years and Pluto for the next 20 years. So please save this video to favorites, because you will need it. When things start happening, this will explain to you and give you perspective, so you don't feel overwhelmed, or so you feel like, wow, I'm on time, like a deja vu. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So this is an important video. And before I start, please do start with your ascendant. If you know your time of birth, start with your rising sign, also known as ascendant. If you don't know it, start with your sun sign and moon sign if you can, but the ascendant is the most important, I think, if your time of birth is correct. And then I'll follow if you're day born, the sun. Check the 3 if you want, but always for me the ascendant is it. And by the way, before we start, just to let you know, I'm doing a big webinar on Pluto in Aquarius. That will be at the end of February, the start of March. It's only $39. It will be 5 hours, and I'll walk you through how Pluto will affect you personally, because Pluto will be in Aquarius for the next 20 years, and I'll show you how, and you'll be able to see what areas Pluto will influence. Say Pluto will square your Mars, natal Mars, in 2036. What does it mean? Or Pluto will enter your second house and it will transit the second house cusp in 2025. What does it mean for you? Or Pluto will trine your Venus. What does it mean for your life, for your love life, and which year? So that will be a very personal webinar, but because I'll show you how you can calculate it and see it very easy, but at the same time very insightful for you to plan, because Pluto is the planet of the evolution of the soul. And if the most important changes on a spiritual and material level always happen through Pluto. So let's enjoy the videos. Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising. Let's start with the rising sun or moon, March 2023. Let's start with the first big event that will influence you for the next 3 years. And as always, when a planet changes signs, especially a planet that will stay in the sign for many years or a long period, usually there is some kind of a symbolic event that happens that gives you an idea of what is about to come. And so pay attention in March. And this will be the first planet we'll be talking about is Saturn. Saturn will enter your 12th house. For the last 3 years, Saturn has been in our 11th house. And it started in 2020 from March, April. So how did your life change in that period? Well, if you want to figure out and see how well you did with the lessons of Saturn in your 11th house, listen to the next sign, because I speak about Saturn in the 11th house there. Listen to Taurus, but think that it happened to you already and you're finishing this phase. And you're gonna hear and you say, oh my God, wow, it's true, that really happened with my social circle, with my role in society, because Saturn was in a very social position, and so on. And check, or ooh, I didn't do that well here, but you'll see that it's really relevant. But now Saturn is moving into your 12th house. Let's speak how it's going to affect you for the next 2.5, almost 3 years. So that happens once every 29 years, of course. You can look back if you remember, if you're a dinosaur like me, what happened 29 years ago. But this is the house, this is the last house before Saturn enters our sign in 2026. So we have some 12 houses, a very house of feelings, emotions, the subconscious. So, and this is where we gather all the, you know how our mind perceive everything, but we remember just less than 1% of what happens around us. What did you have for breakfast 10 years ago? Or even who was your best friend 20 years ago? Even such things we forget. Or where we live, the address, but it's stored somewhere. And that's where it's stored in the subconscious. This is the 12th house. Also, the memories of past lifetimes and traumas that we don't remember from this lifetime or from when you were in your mother's womb. Or 12th house is also ancestors, the actions of your ancestors that somehow you have no idea what they were. Oh, it's all buried in the subconscious. It's all carried within your astral body. And Saturn going there will try and put some order there. It's been a bit of a mess there for the last 12 years. Why? In your subconscious, because Neptune has been there, and Neptune is a very permissive, porous planet. It allows all kinds of astral entities to influence you. You become more easy to manipulate to some extent, and easy to be subconsciously influenced, and very sensitive over the 12 years. Maybe some of you became super intuitive with that Neptune in your 12 years, in the 12th house, but intuitive and sensitive not necessarily only to positive influences, like if there is someone in the next flat next to you that is upset and you don't even hear them, suddenly you feel upset and you don't know why, but you're picking up on the vibes through the wall, and sometimes it can create maybe you felt more and more sensitive or vulnerable to some extent, or even more vulnerable to addictions, more vulnerable to especially a lot of addictions are influenced by unconsciously because of things that happened in the past we are not aware of, that we've forgotten, emotions that are not processed, and walk-ins, astral entities, which is the 12th house again, and Neptune allows your aura to be more porous there, for influences. So it's been more easy to influence you subconsciously to some extent. I know there's always exceptions, but if you have some strong Aries energy like me, and maybe you were dealing with not only addictions but self-sabotaging behaviors, but Neptune is not energy that is structuring and organizing, it's allowing. It's kind of like allows everything to happen. So when Saturn enters your 12th house, or our 12th house, from Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, you'd notice that over the next 3 years, maybe gradually, that it will put order to those things. It will first make them, crystallize them for you to be more, not to be so nebulous and unclear about the subconscious processes, about those past traumas, but it will make you maybe work with someone with like a counselor or advisor to make sense of those things, to bring them out, to make them mundane, to understand them. This is what Saturn is. Because, bring them out of the sphere of the spiritual, invisible, subconscious, and crystallize them into something more compartmentalized and easy to deal with. And then you start step by step to deal with those issues. So you will confront, and you will deal, and you will eliminate a lot of your addictive behaviors, a lot of your self-sabotaging behaviors, a lot of you put order into your feelings and in your dreams as well. Maybe having with Neptune in your 12th house a lot of psychic vivid dreams for years now, but you couldn't understand what it is, and Saturn now comes and analyzes it and puts order there. You can work with someone professional, which is what that Saturn also indicates, someone experienced or a seniority and knowledge about the subconscious, about that, or you can do it on your own. But there'll be a lot of introspective moments that you become, that you almost like need to isolate yourself at moments. Either you do it consciously, more aware people will do it consciously, they'll spend more time alone so they can analyze what's happening inside of them. They can analyze the past and do retrospective, especially of the last 20 years, 30 years. They might dream a lot of the past, they might think a lot of the past. You can maybe journal to understanding or whatever, or some of you will be forced who are more extrovert and don't like alone time, or they'll be forced to withdraw from the world somehow, like like someone might be put into baby jail, someone might be, kind of like you have to spend more time alone, isolated from society to some extent, maybe not immediately from March, but it's almost like so you can analyze the past, so you can analyze your subconscious and start getting rid of those things. And not only just getting rid, but putting order, cleaning. Saturn is the cleaner. So cleaning your subconscious there, that it's been so open to all kind of influences with Neptune transiting. Plus, with Neptune transiting in your 12th house, maybe there was some invisible enemies there. Not necessarily even in human form, sometimes astral form that influence you, that influence your moods, emotions. Well, Saturn comes there and say, okay, let me clean up those, those inner little demons from your subconscious. Put order here, come on, everyone gets organized, line up. And so that can end up, when the spirit finishes in 3 years, with you having a very streamlined and being more in control of your feelings, more in control of your subconscious addictive behaviors, maybe even eliminate them, more in control of your subconscious fears, maybe have some, and it's a slow process. It's not going to happen fast. 3 years, guys. It's 3 years. But you'd find yourself that you understand the internal workings of you more. But people who are working in more 12th house careers might find themselves in seniority, in more respect. If you work in spiritual fields, you can receive there more positions of authority or grow your authority. If you work in fields of psychic, spirituality, or healing as well, or if you work in hospitals, if you work with those in need, with the downtrodden, in charity organizations of any sorts, with music or art or anything that requires moments of isolation, so you can create, like it might be a computer game artist creator, it might be a writer, it might be a music writer, it might be someone who, anything that is connected also to inspiration from the invisible worlds, where you have to download information. Well, Saturn can make you very organized about such activities and more serious about such activities, that you're not just doing them for a hobby, or that you really take it to the next level professionally. Also healing professions and so on. But for most other people, the Saturn in the 12th house can feel that a little bit disorganizing, and in the external level, that you need to let go of control for not so much control of the external world, while you focus on your resources on taking a grasp and ordering within yourself. There'll be a lot of external manifestations that this does. It's not just internal, but I speak a lot about those in my 2023 video about Aries, which is 3 hours almost long. It's only $21, and it's such a work of love for me. I focus there much more on this. Here I'm talking more on the psychological implications, but there is a lot more practical manifestations that it can happen. And especially sometimes this is when the time we might pay karma. Depends what kind of human being you've been in the last 27, 28, 29 years. And for you might see the results of your actions, because it's a karmic house, the 12th house. And it will feel like things are a little bit out of your control. Maybe not immediately from March till May. You are very much, protected, and everything is going great for you, Aries. I don't want to scare you. Everything is going great for you because Jupiter is in your sign. So that's a great protection, great things, positive things are happening. But just so you know, for the next 2.5, 3 years, while Saturn is in the 12th house, you might see some karmic events, and they might be wonderful or they might not be so, depending on your actions for the last 39 years, because this is when Saturn transits the last house, is when we receive the consequences of our previous actions. So you might feel like events are a little bit out of your control. It's like you're seeing results for things that are done already before. Like I've seen someone who used to cheat on their wife for years. When Saturn entered their 12th house, well, there was a divorce. The wife left them. I've seen someone who was very who worked very hard and who was very moral and all of those things. When Saturn transits their 12th house, they had powerful spiritual realizations, they had a lot of results of their previous actions, they were completing certain projects and seeing the results of those years of hard effort. So it's very much a personal it will give you Saturn in the 12th house, will kind of be like a barometer of how you did in the last 29 years. And even if you've been good, kind, meticulous person, sometimes there's certain things we have to end and complete. So you expect a lot of endings, which is a great thing sometimes, because when Saturn enters our first house from 2025, 26, there'll be a brand new chapter in our lives. But first we need to look back and see what is worth keeping, sometimes even if it might be unconsciously taken from us. And usually things that end when Saturn is in your 12th house, they end for good. And actually you'll be very grateful they ended one day. And what happened? I recently had Saturn in my 12th house from my Ascendant. I was a bit psychologically, it's a bit more torturous. Like you're emotionally like digging inside, and you almost feel like I'm ready for something new, but it's still not starting, even though you have new beginnings till the middle of May, because Jupiter is in your first house. So that's not necessarily going to be visible for you from March. But after that, maybe you start noticing, okay, now for the next 2.5, 3 years, I'm ready to start anew. But first, there is this cleaning work that has to happen. And this kind of, it's more like a process from the second part of this year in particular. And in 2024 and big part of 2025, it's going to be more of a process of you completing things. So that's great time to, if you started recently or years ago something, to complete it. Doesn't mean you're a failure at that, it means you might be rewarded for it as well. And to start preparing, not necessarily after May especially, but it's kind of like start gathering information, researching and so on. It can be a great time, Saturn in the 12th house, researching, studying, going within and so on. But as I said, there is a lot of external manifestations, but I speak about them in my video for 2023. I don't want to take too much of your time. But again, I want to say Jupiter is in your sign, continues to be in your sign. You're very blessed this month until the middle of May. Aries, new beginnings are coming to you. Despite of Saturn in the 12th house, endings will start coming, but it can be simultaneous. Something new, very empowering, very positive is coming to us with Jupiter in our sign. Some great achievement as well, opportunity that will come to us till the middle of May, depending whether you're early or later born Aries. But Saturn will start streamlining the cutting off little by little the unnecessary things that maybe were grateful in the last 29 years, but they no longer, it might be people, whatever, they no longer, it might feel like losses at moments, but actually you're cutting your losses so your ship doesn't sink, and you'll be very grateful for that later on. All right, there is another thing that can happen, another big event that is happening this month is that Pluto is entering your or our 12th house. Wow, this is big. And if you want to see how you've learned the lessons of Pluto in our 10th house, I'll be speaking how Pluto will influence the 10th house of Aquarius. So listen to the next sign again to see the last 14 years since 2008, when Pluto entered your 11th house and your 10th house, what's been happening and what were the big evolutionary lessons. But now Pluto is entering in our 11th house, and it will be very supporting to Aries for the next 20 years. Gradually, depends what degree you are. In my webinar for Pluto in Aquarius, I would speak exactly when it's going to influence you according to your chart and how it's going to influence you. But now let's speak generally. Pluto will fully enter into Aquarius and stay there forever from 2024, but always when it first ingresses, and it will be just 2-3 months this year in your 11th house, around the time it enters, so for the next 2-3 months, you'll see some pivotal event, some symbolic event again, that will give you an idea for the next, what to expect for the next 20 years, but in different ways through different events over the next 20 years. but you'll get an inkling now. And Pluto is the most important planet for the evolution of the soul. It's the last planet, so it's the slowest moving planet. So all other transits and events that will be happening in your life for the next 20 years, yes, there might be, like I said in the previous sign, there might be deaths and rebirths, and there might be moving and marrying and divorcing and all those kind of external things that are happening around you, but all their goal and purpose will serve Pluto, because Pluto is the ultimate highest planet, and by the way, it's known as the planet of divine will. So that's why it's the evolution of the soul is represented there. So whatever other events are happening in your life, they will be serving the mission of Pluto through your 11th house somehow. And that can mean for Aries that they will have some very important social role to play in the next 20 years. We know Aries is already leadership energy. And if you haven't found your leadership and initiatory energy till now, you might do it in the next 20 years through some kind of a role in society as a that influences large groups of people, which is what the 11th house is, or through some kind of a mission that impacts society and transforms society, or through some kind of a role that breaks down the old, because Pluto is planet of destroy and rebuild, breaks down the old norms, morals, and collective social structures to rebuild them again. You might play the role of a agent provocateur in society. We might play a very important role in some organizations or group of people of like-minded ideas, or some kind of a lateral organization in some way that you become part of, or community. That is some of the most important mission you have for the next 20 years. But as well, what does Pluto want to do? On a more material level, events that can start transpiring is some big transformations in your circle of friends, some big transformations in regards to the people in your life. Your social environment will totally change. I don't know when exactly will happen for you. We'll need to know your personal chart, what degree or ascendant is, or whatever, to tell your degree, the 11th house, which I will teach in my webinar in February or the start of March of Pluto in Aquarius. Come join us, only $39 for a 5-hour webinar. But Pluto transiting this 12th house, this 11th house will transform your, your social role, your role in society, your friendships. And on a more personal level, I went through 10 or 12 years of Pluto in my 12th house years ago. And I can tell some funny experiences. I'm not sure it will happen the same way for you, but friendships was so important for me in this time. They were life-defining. They defined me. That was till I was the age of 27, approximately 26, 27, since I was 15 approximately. So I formed some of my most intense and powerful friendships ever. And Pluto is never halfway. With Pluto, the friendships that will keep you, they might not be many. Pluto is not a number thing. Pluto is a super quality thing. But they'll be intense, and they'll be what will connect you might be some traumatic or challenging life experiences as well. But these are the deepest friendships as well. Even if you're in your 70s, you might discover now some really soul friendships of a soul group, because Pluto rules soul groups as well, and people that will really transform your spiritual evolution. So it will be very paramount what people you connect with spiritually, as community, as collectively, because they will play some of the most important role in your life for the next 20 years. And it might feel very subtle. It will be very subtle. You might not be aware of that initially until you look back one day and you're like, wow. And you can meet some very dodgy characters as well with Pluto, because Pluto has its dark side. After all, it's connected to the lower astral. And I met some friends, let's say, that were in my social circle that were very plutonic in nature during my transits. They were drug dealers, they were working girls, they were billionaires. Another thing, Pluto can rule like various interesting groups of people, from criminals to sex underworld to people that are oligarchs and super rich, and very extremes kind of stuff. So it was very interesting that I experienced my social circle, such kind of extreme people, and they had a very forming influence on me. But also they can be deeply on the highest vibrations. Pluto can indicate that you meet with people that are extremely psychologically penetrating, powerful. Maybe there'll be more Scorpios around you, Scorpio moon people over the next 20 years, and people that are powerful or impactful, or you might make more friends also with more psychologically inclined or mystically or occultly inclined people, or communities that are battling the regimes. Pluto is a revolutionary planet in the sense that works subversively. You might get join communities or have friends that are trying to get underground. Sometimes it may be criminal, sometimes it might be, so they are resisting something, the resistance type of thing, or that are trying to change society, as I said. Sometimes you might, or even you might join such political movements and so on, or play a role in them. Wow, fascinating, you know. So I met such colorful characters around that time, and some of them were dangerous. Some of them were very manipulative. Some of them were, but some of them were extremely loyal. Even to this day, I've made my best friendships that to this day, and they were very platonic friendships. We were bonding through platonic experiences. So to this day, these are my most psychologically deep friends that I share my biggest secrets and so on. So I wish the same for you. Well, you're also Aries. So that will, again, I experienced it through my ascendant. Now I will experience it from my sun sign. So repeat, but now I'm more prepared not to mess with the wrong people, because it can get dangerous, especially if Pluto is making hard aspect from your 11th house. If it's not, don't worry, you might be in the den of snakes around you, but you just make money out of it, or somehow you'll benefit from it. But it depends. So that's why I think you have to check this webinar I'm making. And Pluto will also transform your mental body. The 11th house is connected to that. Plus, it's your gains, financial gains. 11th house is how you make money. And that's why it's so important who you know and your connections and your network, which Pluto will be also transforming. But as I said, there might be some connections with Pluto there that are even dangerous, or that manipulative. There might be some kind of a power issues and power struggles that you have to deal, well, not for 20 years all the time, but the power dynamics between you and groups and friends, and to take your power back, to recognize when they're taking advantage of you, to recognize, just like I experienced friends who would put me in a situation where they would benefit even materially from me, and they were pretending to be my friend, and I realized that, and I said, I'll never allow this to happen again. It might be a slow process, but it might be a fast or slow, depends what aspect Pluto is making from this 11th house for you. But that will be interesting, you know. Well, they might be friends, just like I met, who really empowered me and changed me. But also there will be something that transforms totally how you make money, your source of income. Sometimes you can even become super rich because of that, because of something you invent or something that transforms society. But I'll speak more about that in my video for Aries 2023, where I focus more on the material manifestation of that. There is a link below if you want to see it, because we can't make this video 3 hours like the paid version. Then let's focus more specifically on the month of March for you Aries. What is going to bring March in particular? There is big focus on your 12th house. The sun will be there, Mercury will be there for a time, so there will be some, especially till the 20th of March, you might feel a little bit more like might be good to go to foreign places on holidays, or maybe take yourself a bit of a break and a rest. But and there might be some hidden events that happen, some secrets that get revealed to you because of this powerful 12th house being triggered, some spiritual experiences and realizations, more alone time as well. But at the same time, there's a strong focus on Aries. Venus is almost the whole month till the 17th of March in Aries, the best planet. So is Jupiter in Aries. They actually on the 1st of March, they meet. at around 10-11 degrees Aries, if you have something there. So if you're born towards the start of April, the end of March, so if you're born March 29th, 30th, April 1st, April 2nd, this conjunction will fall right on your sun, or anything if you have around 11 degrees. Wow, something good and wonderful is coming to you from the end of February, the beginning of March. Something really, the planet of happiness, Jupiter, and the planet of material, the planet of spiritual joys and material rewards are together, you know. So, but all Aries can feel this blissful energy for almost the whole month of Venus and Jupiter in their sign. You are super protected this month. I mean, good things are coming, and they continue into April and into May. But especially this March with Venus in your sign, you can feel more attractive, you can feel more agreeable, you can attract support. With Jupiter there in your opportunities, you can attract beautiful things the whole month of March, or till the 17th at least, because of Venus. You can pamper yourself, you can have more pleasurable experiences. If you want to do anything important, guys, I think that with those two benefics in your sign, do it, and it will happen very easy, and you might feel inspired into doing some new beginning or to doing something, and it will happen without effort because of these two very lubricating influences and very easy and gentle influences in your sign. So thank you so much. And maybe Mars continues to be in your 3rd house, but it will leave towards very end of March. Since August almost, you've been dealing with the energies of Mars in your 3rd house, and you've already starting to resolve them. Any problems with transportations, with communications, with media, with marketing, with any kind of transactions, with papers, documents, they'll be resolved. They're moving forward. They'll finish by the end of March. Just like I've been dealing with a lot of problems on my website and on my YouTube channel, which is media, again, 3rd house, because of it was demonetized, and I'm expecting a letter, and they said they sent it 5 times with the pin code, and it hasn't come. And I'm like, okay, Mars is soon leaving my 3rd house. They should all be done with and resolved. So any problems, if you've had problems with siblings or relatives, if you've been fighting with some complicated situations with workmates, teammates, playmates, neighbors, relatives, siblings, it's all goes well. It's moving well, you're finding solutions. Or with your vehicles, with transportations, with media, with phones, with laptops, with communication devices, it's all getting sorted out. So there you go. Save this video, come back to it. You'll need it many times, guys. Just for what's Pluto going to do in your 11th house and what Saturn's gonna do. Well, you're gonna do those things. These planets are not doing it. They're indicating what is naturally being born within you. So thank you so much.